Okay, so let's start.
You were really good at that whole intro, by the way. That
Oh,
was amazing.
thank you. Thank you.
Show.
Practice makes better, not
Practice makes
perfect.
better.
Yeah, I remember when I first started doing these podcasts or interviews, and I would like full on sweaty palms, and now it just feels a little bit easier, especially when it's you. Thanks, Al.
Oh,
You
hi,
put me at
Katie.
ease.
Sister. Nice to be with you this morning.
I was thinking about what we're going to talk about today, and Al and I were together last night at Hamilton, and Leslie Odom was singing. And right before, I couldn't help it, we were talking about how crazy the world feels, and then how beautiful that experience was. And all I could think was, oh shit, I'm so glad I have people with whom I can live a life of range.
Mm-hmm.
So, this really tied into how do I choose to grow older? It's like live a life of range where we can talk about how challenging and hard things are, and at the same time hold beauty and lightness and joy and fun. I think we're pretty good at that.
Oh, we switch on a dime. We switch on a dime.
We do, don't we?
We can be in despair to pettiness to ecstasy within 35 seconds. To mundane to pop culture. But what was so beautiful last night, you said it a couple times, is we've both seen that show multiple times, and to see what gets better with age, see what gets better with time, that performances can become new again, that his voice could become so seasoned with time. I think it's so appropriate for our conversation.
It's true. I was lucky enough to see Leslie Odom in Hamilton the first time around, and to me, the life experience and maturity and confidence and I think excitement. I think he was excited to be back, right? And so it's like so much of what I think about in growing older, where we think about our life getting smaller, is like we can be as excited about things, maybe more excited, because we understand what it is to access beauty and joy and freedom as we get older. And you've taught me a lot of that, because like I've always been really good about being serious. I think a lot of women are really good about like if you're looking at the range of like serious to wild and free and joyful and alive, I know a lot of women who are really good at serious. You're really good at wild and free and joyful and alive.
You and I think what's been fascinating since we met a decade or so ago is we kind of knew right away that we were two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
The life that you were, such a huge life of so many kids. There's just so many children.
There's just so many children. There's just so much responsibility.
Not having those responsibilities in that life, I don't know if it's disposition or character. I think it's just circumstance and setting. And then because we really played off of like, whoa, you get to do and be all the things I didn't get to do and be. And so I think it brought out, more of both of each other's traits in the other, simply because of circumstance. I don't know if I had 5 kids, if I would be as wild and fun.
You definitely would be as wild and fun, because I actually think that you underestimate the level of responsibility that you've taken on in your work. Right. So you're also very, very good at serious and responsibility. But I actually think that we're better at wild and free and fun in groups and together.
Yeah.
It's very easy to be serious on your own, but when you're with a group of women, we giggle a lot. Mm-hmm. Like a group of teenagers, we giggle a lot.
It's the primary thing. And I think that's been with us since we were little girls. That never goes away, that when we gather in like 2 or more, we kind of become who we've always been.
Yeah.
And I think it's so appropriate for the note that we're talking about today of not just growing older, but growing older together as 2 or 4 or 6 or 12 or whatever your circle of intimacy is. I think there's something that happens where we really know one person can't be everything to us. And I think women do that so well, not to gender it, but women do it so well, of knowing like we can lean into the part where you get to be serious and fun and wild and reckless, and in despair and in hope and then do it all together. So you don't have to be one thing for one person.
And I also think what we're really good at is recognizing what the group of us or what the other needs. In a way, we're not super good at acknowledging that for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like this women's commune thing that I've been talking about for a long time. Really, the origins of it were that I recognize that someday I'm going to grow old and someone's going to need to take care of me. And the model in this country is you either go to like a home or something, or you quote unquote burden your children. And it's like everyone has this problem because none of those models are very appealing. And so I was like, what if we just made a contract where we said we are a group of women who commit to taking care of each other. We spread out the care, where when you're younger, you take care of the older, and the contract is the next generation takes care of you. But it's not one person. The burden's not on one. We spread it out. And it is really sort of according to your needs. And that's actually a pretty serious, heavy premise. But all we talk about when we talk about the women's commune is the fun of it all.
Yeah.
The pottery corner and the weaving and right? Like, because the premise is actually very, very real and serious and heavy. And so it's almost like when we are as a group, what we know the other needs is the continued aliveness and lightness and joy that we, I think, can still have for ourselves later in life, even when the seriousness is there. But I don't know that I would be able to figure that out for myself. I can see it so clearly for others. So there's this weird alchemy magic that happens when we come together, where we all kind of know what everyone else needs, and together we can figure it out in a way that we could never do in isolation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know it's like mandatory to the world we're in and the world that's coming, that like we were never meant to, we're not designed to, we are not a species that does it alone. And I think every time we have this conversation, or anybody that's in this conversation actively in their life, I think what it does is it takes us back to like the way it's always been. It's always been this. It's always been this. Share the load, have multi-generational experiences inside of communal livings. These kind of like nuclear isolated things never made sense to me.
Yeah.
It's just not who we are.
Yeah. I was actually really interested in Trevor Noah was being interviewed, and he was like, when we lost the village, what happened was we started paying for it. When we lost the
monetized community.
So when we lost it's like, oh, I have to work. What do I do with my child? It used to be the auntie or the sister or the community or the children were taken care of communally. And so now we're paying for it.
Yeah.
And paying for it is not the same, and obviously is not equally accessible to others. But the spirit and the soul of the village gets completely lost in that.
Oh, it's so true.
And so
yeah, and then it becomes a commodity traded based off of who has what. And I don't know if it takes it to the heart of it. That's like we're in it together. Like it goes transactional rather than intimate.
Completely. It's like it serves the purpose, but not in the same way, without the soul. And so, I've thought so much about the idea of the village. And it's interesting because I don't think about it so much in the context of now, but I think about it so much in the context of when I'm old. That's the part where I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And I literally envision women who have devoted their lives to their work or their families or their children, and I can literally see them all sitting in their homes alone. No, and it breaks my heart. And that's like, well, but we could be for each other.
Yeah,
we know how to do this. We're so good at this, but we're not structurally set up for it.
I think that's so key. And as obsessed as we are, just candidly, we joked about it and how we posted this. We're obsessed with aging beautifully. We're so vain. We're so in the bed, like forever. We're going to have the conversation of how to like keep it right and tight. And that thought of like, I think what really ages us and hardens us is to let the life get small. Like I see it in so many examples of when the community gets smaller, the social network gets smaller, the ideas get smaller, the possibility gets smaller. And I think having that flow, not just like a set commune, but a flow and many ages and many different responsibilities and obligations and artistry to just not let life get small
Yeah.
in whatever way.
Yeah. Oh, you sure did call me it's so funny, I was looking at my Instagram
Hi, Yaz.
story.
Yaz is next.
Hi, Yas. Yas is next. I'm
Yes.
talking to Yas next. Um, I was looking at my Instagram story and I was like, feels so like it was kind of like peppy and it felt so in contrast with how heavy the world was. And I was like, but we're not going to talk about aging in the like, we're worried about wrinkles kind of way. We're going to talk about aging in the like, and then this is where I'm getting all like, we're talking about aging in the like, how we're going to lead our life way. And so then you reposted and you're like, but also wrinkles.
Also,
And that
that's
is,
true.
and that is exactly the point, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly the point where it's like, we can be really serious. We know how to do that. But also, like, we spend a lot of time talking about our vanity.
So much and money. How many people in your life do you see? Let's just stay in the female category because you and I do so much work in that realm. How many people do you see kind of hit a breaking point where they've put like all of the emotional, responsible, spiritual, intimate load on like the one person, like the one monogamous partner?
Oh,
Like,
I mean, not just I think the family.
okay,
The family. For me, because I know because through my kids, I know a lot of moms with kids.
yeah,
For me, the women my age, I'm 48, who have kids and are like, you know, A+ moms really trying to do it really well, have put so much energy into their
mm,
kids and trying to do the best they can. And like, some of them are also working, some of them are not, but either way, I feel like it's everybody.
mm,
It's everybody who's like, I've lost my identity. I don't even remember what I like. I'm too tired. I'm
mm,
just too tired to even think about it. And so, some of the work that we've done and some of the stuff that I do where it's like going and having an experience that makes you feel alive is the prescription in the moment. Whether that's a dance party or rock climbing or surfing, that's my particular flavor of alive because I like adventure and I like movement and I love to dance. But, that feeling of aliveness is not so available when you're so focused on the needs of other people, particularly when they're tiny humans and you're so tired,
mm,
and that
yeah,
part has been growing in me for a while.
mm,
And so now it feels comfortable to be like, hell yeah, I want to live a life that's joyful and alive and feels free and wild while also, I take care of my people. I do my thing. I'm very responsible. So that feels natural to me now, but it took a minute
mhm.
to feel not guilty.
Well, and I guess this is where you and I have always been, complementary, and in a way, it's been such like helpful opposition in that,
Mm,
like, because I've had non-traditional family structure and life, it was never really that for me in my experience and a lot of the people I've worked with. And so having groups of women and deep friendships, with every gender where we've lived so much of our intimate life together outside of the nuclear family. We do our money together. We plan for investments and strategies. We do our work together. And so, kind of coming in and out of families that have done it a little more traditionally, I can see something that actually, it's not that it came naturally, it came out of a necessity. Like
yeah.
I kind of already lived that because without like that dominant structure. And so I always wonder that, like, when people get to a certain point where they see, like, oh, all of my intimate and emotional needs here is too much pressure.
Yeah.
It's going to crack the system. And so, what we're talking about of how we grow old, it's also this extraordinary, like, net that holds how deeply we feel, how complex this life is, how emotionally different our genders are,
Yeah.
how emotionally, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that word intimacy, where it's like we are being told there's only one way to have that, right? Like you can have intimacy with a romantic partner, but intimacy is reserved for a romantic partner. And I mean, not everyone's monogamous, but if you're monogamous, a monogamous partner, and it involves physical intimacy. But any other type of intimacy isn't really available to you,
Mm.
right? And to me, intimacy is about feeling seen and known and revealed in the tenderest bits inside of you. And we are all craving it. I can see how much people are craving that intimacy, and I don't even know if they know that that's what they're craving. But it's like the innermost parts of us want to be touched by another human being, and I mean, all we can talk about is AI
Yeah.
masquerading as intimacy,
Yeah.
but I, you know, it's not going to do it for us.
No, and I think every time you and I have had the conversation of how we want to do this in an imagined future, it is the conversation of intimacy to that definition. And for me, like the definition broadly is just a deep knowingness that we're in this together.
Yeah.
And so no matter the rupture or the conflict or the, you know, difference in life paths or whatever it is, there's just this like felt deepening knowingness that we're in.
Yeah.
And that intimacy of what will weather the storm, I think, is probably what we're wanting to stitch back together in village mindset of like what we know is lost and what we know we need.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I think that that intimacy requires, and I don't want to characterize it this way, it requires work in the same way that people talk about like marriage requires work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like make it like, ooh, you got to like, trudge through it.
Yeah.
But I think people understand that a marriage requires work, but somehow another type of intimate relationship, a friendship intimate relationship should just magically be perfect
Yep.
without any effort.
Totally.
And that's just not true when you're getting to this level of we're living life together.
Yeah, it starts to bring up the sibling dynamics, the family of origin dynamics.
Yeah.
Like you'll probably have Vienna on it. Like I think when we're starting to play with like how do we love this traditional landscape? How do we acknowledge that we have different lifespans? We have no idea what's coming. There's also like something old in us that wants to create, you know, together. And then acknowledge that like it's gonna bring stuff up. You
Yeah.
know? And I think the normalization that this kind of intimacy, this kind of friendship where we wanna go, as vain and as beautiful is the deep path of awakening, is the deep path of like, how are we doing this together in a way that has longevity and has honesty?
Yeah. And honesty, right? Because I think that
Mara,
whenever you
Mara, 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 that's the best advice. Spoon your
the
homies.
the best advice,
But everything is spoon your homies.
if you're listening, that's all you need to know. Thank you,
She
Mara.
she
Mic
does it
drop.
better than anybody else physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She just spoons you.
Spoon your homies. But you know how you're like, I think it's like a Ram Dass quote. It's like if you think you're evolved, spend a weekend with your family or spend the holidays with your family. It's like how you kind of think you've got it all figured out, and then you're with your family, and then all that stuff comes out because it's so close. And some of the things that you're like, I've got relationships figured out, and then you've got it figured out except for the closest people to you.
Yeah.
It's like the chosen family's the same.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to say the shit out loud and be honest and work through that, the intimacy only deepens in the most amazing, beautiful way.
And we've seen it so much, I've only been in group work my whole professional life, but when we've been in your group work where we're building our businesses together, like
Yeah.
typically, we've talked about it so much where there is this sort of insidious, unconscious competition that was put into us young,
Yeah.
prettier, smarter, more other people like them. But when we've been in that landscape of seeing like, oh no, like all we want is to hold each other's visions with each other. All we want is to say, what do you need? What do I got? It's so intrinsic in us to not compete, but to collaborate and build each other's vision. What's been so instrumental for me, even though I've been in such village mindset, is to be in that setting with a group of women collaborating, to be able to be in such a mess of, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where this is going. I really need some help. And to say that stuff around money and work
Yeah.
and stuff that we've had to position is like, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And to have that small village, I've been so surprised how much raw mess it brings out of me
Yeah.
and the intimacy that follows in that place.
And to be able to sort of say, hey, we're collaborating in this way, and isn't it magical? And then to be able to say, oh wait, something like that's the messy part, right? Like, oh, something doesn't feel right, and to have to negotiate I don't mean negotiate. I mean negotiate internally what that is and voice it and adjust it and have it not be like perfect all the time
Yeah.
because we're all just figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you're saying something that you think you mean, and then Yasmin Cheyenne looks at you the way she does. You realize you didn't mean any of that, and there's a big other mess of lies that's about to be exposed, you know? Everybody show up to Yasmin Cheyenne. And it's that way that we start to know with time what the other holds and what they hold back from, what they see clearly, what the blind spot is. And I think that only happens in this like exposed, vulnerable willingness to say, hey, let's do this for a long period of time, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it has to do with a willingness to own your own shit too.
Who else are we going to give it to? Who else are we going to give it to?
It's like, oh, right. Called out. Let's go. Thank you for seeing me better than I can see myself. You are
Yeah.
so right. I mean, how many times have I been called out where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
right. Like, Yaz, Mina, Vienna, like, oh
Side
shit,
eye,
called
side
out. You called out. Yes.
eye.
Oh shit, called out.
Totally. And I think like as we speak about if anybody else is like playing with this in their group of friends and beloveds, where there's also like the seed to plant of what I think we've done so well as our group of friends. We've done so well as never freezing each other in a role or an identity.
Yeah.
We've watched each other pivot and work so hard and pivot in relationship and identity and pleasure and desire. And I think that place of letting each other also rebuild and recreate as pure artistry. Oh, you want to do that now? Go. You want to be a novelist now? Go. And so that place of letting each other be recreated in one another's presence, I think is the way this rolls.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think there's another layer to it, which I've been really interested in, which is just doing things together.
Period.
You know, but it's
Yeah.
I mean, it seems so basic, but
Yeah.
it's like making plans together to do things together. I was just in this conversation with Vienna and she was like, we have to do several cool things every year because we need to just like make the effort to make those things happen. And I was like brainstorming and I was like, cool things, cool things. Shit, I'm not cool. I got nothing. And then she's like, fun things. I was like, fun things that I can think of. That's a prompt I can work with. I'm just cool is really, really hard for me to think of. I'm like, I'm sure someone else is like the queen of cool, but fun I can get behind. And so just, sometimes I think maybe someone's listening and they're like, I don't understand this dynamic and the work and and maybe people are friends and they don't work together. But I think doing things together is so powerful, making plans,
Yeah.
whether it's a walk or a hike or a paint or a crochet or a hobby or whatever it is.
You've been
Uh,
so good at that. Look how many of us you've gotten into fiber arts and surfing. Like you take what you love. Like I'll party with my friends till I die. We'll rave till we die.
yeah.
And the way that you will go on adventures and endure something, like one of our friends gets in the ocean for the first time. Like
Yeah.
you got me actively out of the back of the swell. You got me actively to willing to want to really go into the meat of surf. And I think that place where you see each other encouraging them not to their own passions, but also to passions they didn't know they had.
Yeah.
Where you endure it, you learn it. I think forever, 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 we have to keep learning and we have to keep learning with one another.
Right. And I think that that's the part where we don't let our life get small. It's like that's the part where just like living together, living life together and not allowing the life to get small, continuing to fight the fact that things get harder, right? Like your mind isn't what it used to be. I mean, we're not there yet, but I do think about it a lot, right? When your mind isn't what it used to be and your body won't do what it used to do, you have two choices. You can either kind of say, okay, I'm just going to let my life get smaller and smaller and smaller. You can freaking fight it because I don't want my life to get smaller. Like you can fight it and you can actively decide, I'm going to keep learning, I'm going to keep doing things, I'm going to keep living, and I think I'm going to keep chasing joy and aliveness, which is such a like North Star for me, but it took a second to get there because for a lot of women, I think chasing joy and aliveness feels indulgent.
Yeah. Yeah, I never had that,
I
but I
know.
get it.
I know, that's why I
But
love
I
being
get it.
around you. You're like, "Yeah, I can't relate."
But I get it, and I think these things I really loved what Trevor Noah said. I really love Stephen Jenkinson in his elder work. He says, "Just to grow older does not guarantee elderhood, and just having a social network does not guarantee village or community." Like, I think it's also taking, like, a sober, honest look at saying, like, "Okay, I assume this is that. I assume just to get older is to get wiser." Not always. I assume time heals all things. Not always. I assume this group of friends are people that I'm going the long way with, not always. And I think it's a beautiful conversation to be in before you're in it,
Yes.
because I think it's actually Stephen Jenkinson again. He's like, the definition of village mindset is to plant something that you know you'll never see the fruit of.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's having such a long-term vision that, like, we could just hope that, your kids can come in and out of it, that their kids can come in and out of it. It's like this long-term vision of, like, wait, how did we inherit the family structure and growing older? And how do we want to create that anew and back in the old way, so that it is this alive conversation amongst friends? And
Yeah.
I think we've seen so many articles come out about it too, of people buying plots of land or buying little towns, and whatever is the version of that. Whatever is the version of that, I think I've said to so many of my friends, it's like, what I want to do is I want to call you and say, like, hey, the irrigation line is out at the greenhouse, meet me in 20. Like, that there's a project that's being built over a long period of time that is all of these dynamics together. And
Yeah.
I know it speaks to everybody because it's who we are as a species,
Yeah. Yeah.
We should just bring Yaz in. Can we do a three-way? Yes.
We're gonna have to do that because I think 2 of us is just not gonna be enough. We're gonna have to be in three-way conversation. I think we can do that. Well, maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that when I see, when you talk about growing older doesn't imply elderhood.
Mhm.
What I see actually with older people is it just calcifies the wounds and the protection, right? And
If not
so
tended to.
if not tended to. So it's like I felt so strongly about this for so long that if I want that kind of life when I'm older, like there is no time to lose.
Yeah.
Like the time is now to
Yeah.
to plant those seeds and water that garden. And the other thing that I felt really strongly is at every point from now until then, we have a choice. And one of the choices that I particularly love that we talk about is the choice when our minds go to keep it cute.
Gotta keep it cute.
That's
If we're
just my
like,
that's just my
we are
favorite.
on the edge of medical breakthroughs. I want my mind. Yeah. But keep it funny, keep it cute. Keep it
Right, so
funny, keep
that
it
so that, like, the things that are coming down the road for us that we can't predict, right? Like, who knows? Who knows? Like,
cute.
we can either be like, "I can't believe this is happening to me," and contract, or we can be like, "Okay, next." Because we're talking about keeping it cute and keeping it joyful, but, like, life is
Fucking
hard,
complex.
hard, right? And we've all got a whole bunch of tests coming that we can't even predict. And so it's like at each of those points we have an inflection point and a choice. And it's not a like pretend it's not hard choice. It's a like, okay, how am I gonna move forward from this hard thing choice? And I mean, I don't know how you do that alone.
I think that's the fundamental problem.
Yeah.
We can't. We're not supposed to. We're not built as a nervous system too. And I think this is a lot of, like, the epicenter of the deconstruction of our species and our society, is that the hyper independence of, I'll talk with, some of my closest friends. And if we just list the things in the day that you're supposed to be quite proficient at,
Yeah.
from your taxes to your client management to your cellular structure to your digestion to raising kids well to, like, your car, like, it's extraordinary. And we've lost, I think, when we're out of village mindset, like, how we're meant to pick a lane and become masterful at it, and then lean into each other to also have their gifts and their mastery. And I think it's spreading it out too thin, where the commitment to, like, raise one another is the conversation we're in. I see it a lot because I help and I love so many of my people's kids, my godkids, nieces and nephews, yours. And I think it goes down to like how we raise each other's kids. There's going to be a point where like your kids need a me, and
Like, always.
they always need the conversation that they can't have with their
Yeah.
kid. And so
And
I think it also plans for that next generation.
I think the problem is that you can outsource all these things that you're not really good at, but you have to pay for them,
Mhm.
right? Like, the only model is, like, you outsource them and you pay for them rather than that village mindset, and obviously, that is not equally accessible to everybody, and there's a, like, "Oh, I just gotta do it on my own," because, like, you can't outsource all these things to everybody, you know?
It was Erica Bloom, hold that thought. It was Erica Bloom who really taught us the way she is the living definition of this, the way they
Totally.
raised their kids and the way they lived in this space. But I remember her telling me that maybe once a quarter, she'll fix my facts. They would have an explicit conversation of
Mm.
consent and permission. So then the entire quarter, you could just say to me, pick up the kids, question mark, get some groceries, have dinner. And it wasn't filled with permission, please, and thank you. If it's not a problem,
Right,
I'll get you back later. And will you do that? It's
right.
like, we're in this for the long time. You say no if you mean no, but I'm going to make an ask. And I think that's also instrumental to this. Of like, we're doing this together. How do we do it?
Yeah, and I think that it's like I've done so many talks in a group of women where I'm like, "Who likes to help?" And everyone raises their hand, and then I'm like, "Who likes to ask for help?" And everyone's like,
Yeah.
and it's this, like, you're not allowed to ask for help, you're not supposed to ask for help, it's cringy to ask for help, it's uncomfortable to ask for help. I mean, that math doesn't math, right? When people want to help and nobody wants to ask for help. But I think that you're right. That explicit conversation of, "Hey, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?" And even when we get together and do these masterminds where there's an explicit, like, "Okay, now you get to ask for what you need," and everyone's like, "Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to," but we don't have that permission on a sort of day-to-day basis to ask for what we need.
And you've taught me that so much over the decade, and we've done it in such explicit and implicit ways where we all know we have such different gifts and blind spots, but we also trade in such different currencies, and like the way time and energy and wisdom and money and resources and network and space, like there's also, I think, the conversation of, and what currency do we have to be relational about and to hold? And I think there's so many layers to this conversation that is trite, from the trite and the pragmatic to like, no, the deep and meaningful space of like, what are we doing? Where are we going? How do we do it?
Yeah. But I also think that, like, the reciprocity conversation also, because those relationships have to be balanced, it's actually challenging,
Yeah,
I
I'm in
I
it right
think.
now.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
in it
hard.
right now.
Yeah.
Like where you've set up certain parts of your life from old parts, and then you hit a certain place where it's like, "Oh, it doesn't work," and then to course correct it is clunky. You gotta, like, turn the wheel and have hard conversations. I'm in it right now where it's like, "Oh, that doesn't work, but I didn't say it all along, and now I have to say it abruptly and oddly."
Yeah. Yeah, right, and so it's like, let's not pretend that, when we talk about our friendship and our friendship circle and how beautiful it is, like, let's not pretend it's like a, super easy, never messy, never clunky, never like, "Hey, I need to clear something with you. Hey, this didn't feel right." Like, but, because that does happen because when you're I mean, the reason we don't ask is to avoid that messy
It totally.
because it's work, and it's uncomfortable, and it's exposed, and it's vulnerable, and sometimes you fuck it up, and sometimes they fuck it up, and you gotta say that. So it's like, "Oh, I'll just do it alone."
It is, and I think, like, we get it energetically where we'll have those conversations of, like, "I don't wanna be a burden." It's always that.
Yeah.
I don't wanna be a burden. But if we're playing this long game, this, like, vision of throwing this vision so far into the future, there are times, whether it's, like, care, body care, mind care, relational care, that it will be a burden. But to know
Yeah.
that, like, and I'm wanting to, and I'm willing to, and burden me, and I can hold it, and we hold it together. And I think if we can, like, just scrape the superficial levels of these, "Oh, I don't wanna be a burden," that when it comes to, like, no, there might be times we have to do some body. I've been at you've been at we've been in those points of care with our people, like, yeah, it's a burden and it's heavy, but
Yeah.
we've laid the groundwork to know that it's reciprocal and it's love,
It's love, yeah. To me, the word that comes to mind is devotion,
Oh, best. That word.
right? It's like you love someone, and then the next level to me is devotion.
Yeah, but we don't build it then.
No,
It's,
no, no. Devotion doesn't happen on a dime.
yeah, that.
Where it's like, yeah, it might be uneven one day
Yeah,
because of what life throws at us, but that's the contract.
yeah,
I saw my mom do this for my dad, care for him for years and years and years and years and years because that was the soul contract and that was the devotion. And I think that we do see this in married couples, but I think that that is not the only place that this can be true,
yeah.
you know?
And you do it so well, I'll come to your place out east, and it is now you caring for your mom.
Yeah.
And that place where she just held it together so long with your dad before he passed, then you just came in that way. And then to be at your house, it's a revolving door of 40 kids at every age and stage. And it's just this like constant flux of people that know at every level, there's where I go to get fed.
Yeah.
Like, there's where I go to get fed. And so like you are this conversation. And I think what I hear in it is you wanting to make sure you have this conversation for yourself going forward because you're that
Yeah.
conversation for so many people.
I know. And then you take care of me.
Oh my God, too.
And I'm like, oh my God, someone's taking care of me.
Like
Oh, this feels amazing.
like the greatest act of joy ever,
Yeah.
And I think this is what your voice notes are so timely and appropriate and needed and necessary. And, all of us have been in that place of like that we get to have your voice in our ear, like give it to as many people as you can. But it is specifically to this conversation, like a seed that could be planted over a long period of time for anybody listening. That's like, hey, let's make the implicit desires an explicit conversation of what are we doing and how are we going to get there? And how do we clear the air if ever it feels uneven? And how do we do it clunky, but how do we stay in the conversation? And how do we make it fun and cute and clear on our faces?
And if you have anything that makes
Can you
this
tell
stuff
me?
go away, you must
Yeah.
tell me immediately.
You tell me. Totally.
Anyone finds the miracle product, it is our soul contract that you must share with all of us.
Yeah.
Um, yes, yes. But
People obviously can tell we could go forever because it's the only
we could go forever. We're not going to go forever. We're almost done. But the one thing I do want to add is I find it really interesting. I find it really interesting that there are not really conversations. I mean, maybe there are books on this, on how to navigate these intimate, lifelong friendship relationships.
Mhm.
But there are a bazillion of them on intimate relationships.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same.
So it's going to be your book that's coming. I don't know if that's public,
Yeah.
but I also
Now it is.
okay, now it is. Yeah, I also have a couple friends in this conversation. My friend Simon Sinek, he's deep in the conversation
Yes.
of like
Yep.
it's starting to be that like hold on, intimate relationship, family of origin. But what we are all doing every day is living so much life with our friendship. And I think
Yeah.
why you're having this conversation now is because it's the most relevant and timely conversation of how do we get back to who we are as a people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen those graphs about who we spend time with over the course of our lifetime. So it's like amount of time with your children is like this and then it trails off.
Mm.
Amount of time with your partner starts like this and then it goes up. Amount of time at work starts this way and then amount of time alone and amount of time with friends is high when you're younger and it's kind of like steadily lower. And then the amount of time alone just goes like this over a
Oh,
lifetime. And
wow.
I refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse. That is not going to be my life. And I think we get
You have to.
we get to choose. We have to put the hard work in our choice and we have to create that reality for ourselves. But this is not a foregone conclusion in my mind. Certainly not in my life. It's just not going to be true. I mean, I love spending time alone. Don't get me wrong, but I don't mean alone as in living life alone.
Yeah.
That is just not what I choose to set myself up for.
No, and you do it so well. I think because you and I have been like in our lives and our work such gatherers, like my place is a hub. There's people always coming, going, and co-working. And like we're always saying, let's get this group of people to go on an adventure, throw the breakfast, throw the dinner. I think we can't lose the ever, the in real life and the small intimate gatherings. And then what you've done so well is say, okay, let's take a group of people. Let's see over the long period of time who really shows that they're in because of their emotional investment in what we're doing. And then let's build long-term projects with and for one another. And so like the intimacy just gets entrenched, the investment gets entrenched.
But I think that's also true, what you just said, which is like, let's see who's showing up for this and who wants this, right? Because it's not like I went and said, like, these people. Like, no, it wasn't like that. It was like, hey, we want to do this thing. Who's interested? And the people who just kept showing up again and again and again and putting the time and the energy and the effort in were the ones with whom the intimacy grew. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like you got to put in the work to get the rewards. And again, it's not work. Like, I mean, we're having a freaking great time as we're working on our intimacy, but it's true. It sort of naturally shakes out, and everyone who's there wants to be there. What a joy.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
All right, we're going to wrap it up because otherwise, yes, we could go, Allie and I have the ability to
spend time.
Spend time. Sometimes we have conversations and we're like, oh, it's been 6 hours.
We've been in the sauna for 6. We dehydrated our kidneys so hard.
we just can't stop talking. Like my husband will come and he'll be like, are you guys still talking?
I think it relieves him to not have to be the one that's, it's a lot of pressure on a person.
It's a lot of pressure on a person. I do this to him sometimes, and then I'm like, thank you for letting me talk at you.
Yeah.
He's the best, but yes, we can totally bend time and talk for hours and hours and hours, but we are going to wrap it up. Okay, thank you. You are the best.
I love you. Thank you for being such a good friend.
If you, like me, think Allie is absolutely brilliant and want more, her website is alliebogard.com. She's got amazing mentorship groups she's doing. She's got an incredible somatic will you tell us for 1 second about your somatic program, because it's new and I think it's different than what other people are doing, and I think it's really, really important right now.
Yeah, I think there's just so many buzzwords all the time. It's going to be short, effective things you can do every day where you're coming out of the feeling of functional freeze, like you're just on autopilot, but you're doing all the things, but nothing's really moving, where you're coming out of hyperdrive. I think it's a really effective program in the body to see that we are in stimulation overload, and we got to find really helpful ways of regulating, grounding, and digesting it. So it's going to be that, but everything's on my site.
Amazing. And then also, you're so generous on your Substack with a lot of like guided audio meditations that are just total gems. So you definitely should subscribe to Allie's Substack because it's like a treasure trove of free, amazing resources.
It's like my Spotify playlist. Spotify playlist.
Did you just tell everyone about that publicly? I thought that was our secret.
It is. Like your book.
No longer
so much free content.
Allie Bogard's Spotify playlists are the best, and she's got one for every situation. And this is not my talent. I have zero DJ talent, but Allie has it. And so every time I have something, I'm like, which playlist for this, Al? And she'll tell me which one. Yes, her Spotify playlist and her Substack. The most outrageously amazing things for free that you'll find on the interwebs.
Which is what she'll lecture me about later. Got it. Yeah.
I'm sorry, why are you giving that away for free? I'm confused.
It's because
it's so uncomfortable for me to ask for money for anything. This is the conversation we have all the time.
This is how it happens. Then they sign out and we just go into session, and then you guys can get the intimate view of how we call each other out. There it goes.
Yeah. I'm so excited for my next conversation with Yasmin Cheyenne. We are talking about, let me just check, voice note number 3, which is Zen and the Art of Being All Out of Fucks. It's really about what happens in midlife when stuff starts to go sideways and we start to not care about the things that we used to care about. When this one came out, Yaz texted me or voice noted me or whatever about a part of it. And I was like, oh, can we have that conversation at some point? So we're going to have that conversation. That's going to be super fun. That's going to be the next one. So if you want to make sure you know about all the lives, subscribe to my Substack, as well as Allie's. And this conversation is going to be posted on the Substack afterwards. So if you want to share it with people who weren't able to be here live, it's going to live there. So you can like rewatch it if you're crazy.
You're so good, V. You're so good.
You're the best, Allie. I love you so, so much. Thank you for doing this. You're my guinea pig for everything.
I'm right here. I'll have any conversation with you. And what I'd say is you and Yaz are two of the people I know that care the most in the world, but also give no fucks. You just keep rolling. You just keep pushing. It's really, I'll be there for it.
All right. I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks
everyone
for coming, everybody.
who was here. I really appreciate you. All my love. Bye.